A toast to my big brother George, the richest man in town. I guess you could say this quote is if you know, you know. So, ring a bell?
It doesn't.
Okay,
It feels like I'm guessing it would be like a Christmas movie.
it is.
Um. I don't know why the first thing that comes to my head is the Santa Claus.
Mm. No, a little older than that. A little older. This is one of those all-time Christmas classics.
It's a Wonderful Life.
You got it. George Bailey is the
Oh,
richest man in town.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non mi piace il feeling, Spirito Santo. I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. This is Justin.
and I'm Joey.
We're coming to you with a rare Christmas Day podcast recording of the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast as we continue our series of Joey favorites this episode, Interview with the Vampire. Plus, it would not be Christmas without Die Hard, so we'll be talking about John McTiernan's holiday action spectacular.
And just a heads up, we do discuss our full thoughts on film, so if you've not seen a movie, please skip forward to avoid any spoilers. I'm going to be real. If you haven't seen Die Hard at this point, that's kind of on you. But also, be prepared to get hyped to listen to this and then go watch it. Or go watch it and come back. Either way, also, interview. Same thing. These movies are old enough you should have seen them by now. But, spoiler free 2023 something.
And if you like us, show us a little love. Write us a comment, an email. All the information's in the YouTube comments and not comments, but description. And hit that subscribe button. Help grow the Average Joes because we've been around and kind of stagnant for a while, but yeah, we're still kicking.
Yeah, it's been a weird year, but so
All right, what's new with you?
nothing. Genuinely speaking, nothing really. Just pretty much just working. Glad to be through the end of the Christmas shopping season.
My
So
last time venturing out to the stores was, I think Friday. And there was actually more traffic like around the store than actually the street like in front of the store. So that was kind of bizarre. And then like I got caught in like this big line of traffic where like most of the cars were like trying to turn in the parking lot, but I was one of the people that wanted to get out of the parking lot, so I did not want to go right. I needed to go left. And so yeah, you got to definitely brave the craziness on the roadways this time of year.
yeah, I can imagine. You're in a bigger city than I am, and I know you're more like in the suburbs part of it, but still, you're in a much bigger area than me. And traffic here is terrible. I can only imagine like Christmas traffic, like down where you are. I will pass.
What's the weather like there? It's pretty rainy right now here in
It was
Chucktown.
raining earlier. I don't know if it's still raining, but it was overcast, like it was going to rain all day, and then it drizzled, and then it rained for a little bit, but nothing crazy. But I said, I'm not sure what it's doing right now. I hadn't looked outside in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, we had a pretty normal Christmas. Kiddos got all kinds of stuff. It's hilarious. My oldest son did not get a TV, but he already had a 40-inch TV in his room, and his little brother got a TV, about the same size TV. But of course, he's freaking out, saying, "Oh, why did he get a TV?" I'm like, "You already got one." He's like, "But I don't have a remote." Well, when were you gonna mention this? So, yep, boys wanting more and whining, and that's such as Christmas. I was the same way when I was their age, so it's funny to kind of see the next generation of it.
I mean, yeah, and I guess it's the, well, you go to TV and it's like, well, yeah, you already have one. And it's like, so obviously we didn't buy you another one. And that'll make more sense when they're older. But right now, so.
Although my wife did mention that she's thinking about hanging their TVs up on the wall, so that might be pretty exciting for them coming up. Yep, small rooms need to make more space, and they don't need their big old mirrors, so maybe a TV on the wall. Seems pretty fun. You get any fun things for the Christmas presents?
I got some money, and I was just talking to you about before we started recording. So I got that. I used it to buy more gifts and pay some bills, and I bought myself a little bit of magic cards, and then today I got a little bit like gift card and um some like small batch hot sauce. It was like the Secret Santa thing or whatever from one of my, I don't even remember which family member it was. I didn't put their name on it, so I have no clue. But some small batch hot sauce. So nothing extravagant, but it's pretty good. And I know, and I got another thing that's coming, but it's not coming for a while, so it'll be long enough for me to forget about it, and then be excited when it gets here in the mail. So
I think my biggest one is I wanted to get a Wild jersey from the Minnesota Wild hockey team, and so I got one with like letter 85 for my birth year and Peterson on the back. So yep, I'll have a comfy hockey jersey. And Tanner actually got a Charlie Conway Mighty Ducks jersey, and man, that thing looks sharp. I think it was only like $30 on Amazon, and it's a really nice looking jersey.
Not bad.
Yeah, really nice colors and stuff. So yeah, and his mom's like, "Are you sure he wants this?" I'm like, "Well, he pointed out the hockey game and said he really wanted it, and so he got it, and he was just in love with it." So it's always good to see that.
Yeah, it's always
especially
good
kid in clothes.
Yeah, especially when you give someone something and you're sure about it, and someone else, or for whatever reason, you question yourself, and then it is the right thing. So yeah, that's always good.
All right, so let's see what we've been watching lately with the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, my categories are more like whiny bitch with a cause, burning up, and what a musical treat.
So I have not watched anything since the band apart, except for the movies for today. I just have not had time. So we're gonna do just some generalized worst of 2023, best of 2023, and some stuff in the middle.
Okay. Well, would you like me to get started?
Yeah. What about, tell me your musical treat.
All right, so we went down to the drive-in theater a couple weeks ago and saw the Wonka. Pretty generic musical, I would say. None of the songs really, besides like the classic stuff from the original, really stood out to me. Timmy Chalamet, pretty charming actor. I actually really liked was it Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa. He's kind of mysterious at first, and then he kind of comes out to help save the day at the end. But I mean, it was very wholesome, and it's the same director from Paddington. Just nothing really spectacular. I liked it better than the Charlie remake they did with Tim Burton, but you really can't beat the original. But this one was more in the spirit, and I thought it was all right.
So do you consider it a musical because they sing, or is there more singing that actually moves the plot? Because that, to me, that's what a musical is where the singing takes the place of the dialogue and moves the plot, versus something that has music in it, if that makes
Eh,
sense.
Yeah, they use music to further the plot. Yeah, so it's more than the original. Where the original they just like did songs occasionally. This one, yeah, definitely has
Okay.
more of the music wound up in what's going on. And then there's this whole section where like he's like trying to make a name for himself, and so like he signs a really bad rent agreement, which like basically makes him an indentured servant. And so he meets that whole like cast of folks that are also in that trap, and I don't know, thought that was all kind of a waste of time. I just wanted to kind of get on with it, and for him being like this up and coming like chocolatier, he's like has like I think one of the treats he makes is made out of giraffe milk, and so there's like this section where they go milk a giraffe. It's like, aha, okay.
Yeah, that
Did
seems
you
a
ever
little
did you
a
ever
little
see
strange.
Call Me by Your Name, the Timothy Chalamet and Armie Hammer romance?
I have not.
Oh, okay. I was gonna make a little joke, but it wouldn't make any sense. So, moving on. Okay. Yeah, Wonka. Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right. The best of 2023 for you.
All right, so best of honestly for the most part, most of them are a little bit older. I'll just run through this real quick. One of them we did on the podcast, that's Treasure of the Sierra Madre. That's
What
number
month was
10.
that?
Huh?
What month did we do that?
This is earlier this year.
Okay.
It was earlier in the year. I don't remember exactly when. And then we had a Donnie Yen movie, Raging Fire, Scream 6, Bullet Train, another movie we did for the podcast, Interstellar.
Yep. Your
And
buddy.
then, yep, and then we did another one, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Then Witness for the Prosecution. The actual greatest movie that I saw this year is going to sweep the Oscars next year. That's Cocaine Bear. Um, and then Sunset Boulevard in Chinatown. So yeah, just I didn't watch a lot of movies, but I did watch a lot of like really good movies and some older ones. Um, Clearly, really hard to mess with Billy Wilder, and Jack, also having two movies up there. So it's yeah, I would say those were my current and probably isn't going to change in the next week top 10 for the year.
All right.
Um, all right, Burning Up.
All right, so I finally saw the disaster flick. I think it's from 1974, The Towering Inferno. This stars doo-doo-doo-doo. I thought I knew their names right off the top of my head, and now I'm totally blanking. Let's see. Which actually leads to an interesting story since they did not get along on set. The Towering Inferno stars Paul Newman and Steve McQueen.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this is a real early disaster movie, kind of almost a prototype to Die Hard because you do have essentially Die Hard's basically a disaster in an office building, and so is this. Just happens to catch fire. Kind of too long. It's nearly 3 hours. I think a lot of that runtime goes to like long shots of like the people's face, like feeling the emotion of like being trapped. Just definitely the archetype for your what would come for disaster movies with like a stubborn guy in charge thinking, oh, it's not going to affect us until it's too late, and then you got a guy who like. So like the problem with Towering Inferno is like the building has it's a huge skyscraper, and I think San Francisco is where they built it, and bad wiring is what starts causing all these little fires throughout the building. And so like the son-in-law was in charge of making that cut back, and so he's like the zealous one that needs to escape. It kind of reminded me of Titanic in that way. Does a really good job of like visualizing like the panic someone would have being like trapped with like smog all around them, or the heat of the fire and stuff. So pretty entertaining movie. Yeah, Towering Inferno. So a little long, but it's kind of interesting to see what an early disaster movie kind of was like, and how it's been kind of replicated ever since.
Okay. I can dig
Putting
it.
that away. All right, tell your worst of the year.
Oh boy, so there are some down here that are just atrocious. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, that was um Pooh slurping. Oh boy. So if you watch things with subtitles, which I watch everything with subtitles, yeah, Pooh slurping was a pretty common thing. It's just it not only is it a very generic horror movie, like slasher movie, like just super generic, it also is not super great. Like it was funny in parts, but definitely for the wrong reasons, kind of thing. The fact that a sequel has been greenlit because it was made on a budget of like what you would buy a pizza for, um, is kind of absurd. And then I watched all the Saws in Halloween times. So Saw 5,
Wow.
or I watched 5 through 9. I guess I haven't seen X. 5 was not very good.
What makes
Samurai
a bad
4.
what makes a bad Saw movie?
I don't even fucking remember it. That, let me put it to you that way. Like they all, for the most part, kind of blended together, which is kind of the problem when you watch like that deep into a franchise. Like they kind of start running together. Um, I think maybe if I read the description real on the quick. Oh, okay. So I think this is the one where there's like a crooked cop and he is now the bad guy. He's now acting as Jigsaw. I don't remember. It was not very good. And then there's Samurai 400 versus 1, and it was just this thing where it they tried to do it in like one cut and they tried to be super stylized and just was not very good. You could like you could see actors like rolling off of the screen so they could come back and be another like another guy to just endlessly be killed kind of thing. Um, it definitely had promise. It just kind of fell flat. Sailor Suit and Machine Gun. It was a Japanese movie about this young girl who ends up leading the like a dying branch of the Yakuza. One of the reviews we read was like too much Sailor Suit and not enough Machine Gun, just meaning that there wasn't enough her murdering. Blackjack is a just atrocious John Woo movie with Dolph Lundgren that he made in like Canada for like no money. Cujo, I know this is kind of like Cujo sucked. I'm not even gonna try to front like it sucked. Slaughterhouse, so another one like we knew it was going to be bad, but it was just so much worse. I think I talked about it on one of the other ones more in detail. And then the bottom three, boy howdy, these are some of the worst movies I have ever watched in my life. Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, Sharks to Corn, and Thanksgiving 3. So I watched Thanksgiving 3 because we were going to do a schlock talk about it because it was 2 years after we did Thanksgiving. And the whole premise of Thanksgiving 3 is that the homicidal bird from the first one is trying to hunt down the last copy of Thanksgiving 2. Is bad. It was so bad. And then Sharks of the Corn was bad. I've talked about a couple of these on here. They're just terrible. Please don't watch them. Just save yourself the time and the troubles.
You ever seen Bad Santa 2?
I've seen Bad Santa. And I've seen like the uncut Badder Santa, but I have not seen the sequel.
Okay. I was kind of expecting it to suck. Sat down with the old man last night about midnight and was like, just throw something on. Paramount Plus has Bad Santa 2. Never seen it. He'd never even seen Bad Santa 1. But while it was really mean-spirited, especially towards like Tony Cox's character as playing the elf, it was actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Yep. So, yeah, I thought this movie offered a little bit more than I was expecting. Definitely not like the surprising classic the first one was, but I thought it was gonna suck, but I actually got a few laughs out of it, so might be worth a double feature someday if you're in the mood for some raunchy Christmas comedy. But let's get to my last Good, Bad, the Ugly.
Yeah, more like whiny bitch with a cause.
Yeah, so I guess you know what that is.
Barbie?
Rebel with a Cause. James Dean.
Oh.
Not a fan of this movie.
Oh yeah, no, Carl told me that you gave it like 2.5 stars, which for most people is an average movie. For you means it's like the worst of the worst.
Oh no, that's not true. Come on now. Um, yeah, I did
You
not
said you
like
just
watch.
did.
Go ahead.
I mean, to be fair, it's been a little while since I watched it, but I wasn't super impressed with it either.
Okay.
Like,
Like, cause I
like
think I
at
had a
all.
lot of high expectations for what James Dean was, and like I can see how people like were into his like boyish, like smoldering, like face, but I don't know. He just came off so whiny to me, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna hang out with the cool kids now. Oh, they don't like me. I guess I'm gonna have to go do something dangerous." Um, it was kind of funny to hear because that whole like the thing from Back to the Future, like you calling me chicken kind of thing. I had to do it because he called me chicken. That all comes from this, which was kind of neat to piece that together. And then there's a part at the end where like his friend steals a gun and ends up like in a confrontation with the cops, which is pretty similar to Outsiders. So while this is the original, I think I like a lot of the stuff that came after it a little better. Yeah, I guess I'll have to watch Giant one day. That's a James Dean Western epic that he was in, to see if I like him anymore in that. But yeah, I was expecting a lot from him in this, and it just didn't really deliver as being a very, very early, um, you know, I mean, it's 50s style teen drama, but I think I'd rather watch something that homages that, like American Graffiti, more than I would ever want to watch this rebellious cause again.
Yeah, I mean, my review is alternative title: Teenagers do the dumbest shit. But it also it had the planetarium or whatever, like that iconic movie or that iconic building that's been in a lot of stuff from LA. So I mean that's kind
Yeah,
of cool, like
yeah,
to do that.
it's pretty strange how that was the yeah, the climax, how it all culminated there of all places, but it is a cool building. Don't they go
Yeah.
there in La La Land?
Yes, they do go there in La La Land. That was the one I was actually thinking of, that I remember because I watched it and I went, "Oh, that's the building from La La Land." As exactly what I said. So,
All right, so what's some stuff in the middle you want to talk about?
um, let's see. We had some random things like LA's Age Jabber, which is just this really low budget horror film that my buddy bought and was like, "Yo, we gotta watch this." Um, Anna just a really shitty action movie based off a video game, but girls in bikinis fighting zombies with samurais. Um, really liked. I mean, things worth mentioning like John Wick 4 and A Better Tomorrow. Pretty solid action movies. Better Tomorrow, especially if you like the John Woo Chow Yun Fat team up. This was their first time. Um, I mean, I did like Outlaw Samurai and Top Gun Maverick, Super Mario Brothers, the Fear Street movies, Don't Fuck in the Woods 2, 12 Angry Men, like just all around, just a kind of solid outing. I mean, Amadeus was great. That's a little um up around like 14. Last Hurrah for Chivalry was a lot of fun. Pearl, D&D movie was fun. Well, it wasn't great, but it was fun. So just yeah, just kind of a little something kind of from a little bit everywhere. I also really liked, and I had it at 11, and I know it's definitely worse, probably not even probably, it's definitely worse than some of these other movies I put behind it, but as was totally killer, the
Oh yeah, the
time
Prime
travel horror
original.
movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, with Kieran Shipka. um but it was bad, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, of course, it references like Back to the Future and stuff because like every time travel movie references Back to the Future. And it
Yep.
it references Scream, and which a lot of movies are doing now. It's just like everything used to reference Halloween or Freddy or whatever. So everything's starting to reference Scream now. So way to make me feel old. But but yeah, nah, just a little something for everybody there.
I must say that your background's kind of tripping me out because Joey has a caribou background, and I guess in spirit of the holiday season, but his head is uniquely placed right, like where the second, like because it's a back-to-back caribou, and his head's covering the second caribou's head, so it looks like this, like a limo caribou, like a real long one, because you're covering up the second one's head.
Oh,
So,
and then I move, and then
yeah, it's like there's antlers in the middle of the body for some reason, but yeah, I just thought, now he's on Mars, so now we're all good, or the moon, or now
I was
he's
hoping
in
it was going to be.
Anne
It looked
Frank's
like
house.
Snowland, but
And I really like this background, but then I figured out it was like supporting Ukraine, which I guess is fine. I like the colors; they're nice and bright.
I mean, yeah, I think supporting the Ukraine is fine. Better than supporting the Ruskies. So
Putin. Oh, now you're in what was it? Late Adult Swim. That's what it is. Gosh, I did not watch enough
I
cartoons.
was trying to find something else that looked wintry, but I don't.
You can go back to your double-bodied caribou. It's fine.
Double-bodied caribou. I've
All
lost
right.
it. I don't even know where it is now.
All right, our feature movie one, Interview with a Vampire, is a 1994 American Gothic horror film directed by Neil Jordan, based on Anne Rice's 1976 novel and starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. It focuses on Pitt's life as a vampire after being transformed in 1791, and the narrative is framed by a present-day interview in which Pitt tells the story to a San Francisco reporter played by Christian Slater. Some fun facts here. Christian Slater was given the role of the reporter after River Phoenix died. And apparently Slater donated $250,000 of his salary to Phoenix's favorite charities. So, very noble of him.
Okay.
Yeah, thinking about it, it's like, whoa, yeah, Christian Slater and River Phoenix do look awfully similar. So, yeah, that was pretty good alternate casting. Have you seen many River Phoenix flicks?
Not that I can think of, no. I've seen, obviously, a bunch of Joaquin Phoenix movies, but...
Well, he played the young Indiana Jones at the beginning of Last Crusade. And then he was also in My Private Idaho, if once you get to that one in the Criterion. So
Yeah, that one is on my list, and I feel like I remember that I watched a movie with him in it, but I have no clue what it is. I'd have to go and look. But yes.
Stand By Me, too, right? I'm not near as familiar with that one as, like, The Goonies, but...
He might have been in that one, like, because every actor is in that, ever. So, type in the box, Stand By Me.
So we'll get to the fact that Cruise's character's name is Lestat. So the author, Anne Rice, wrote Lestat in this 1976 novel with Rutger Hauer in mind, which I thought was pretty interesting. Go ahead.
Yes, he is in Stand By Me. It's Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Jerry O'Connell, Corey Feldman, Kiefer Sutherland. So, yes.
So yeah, they actually wanted to make this movie in the late 70s with John Travolta. But I guess there's a lot of... So Dracula 1979 came out and Nosferatu came out. And so, yeah, they thought they might be playing out the vampire scene. So it wasn't until the early 90s where they resurrected this with a whole new group of suave young actors. Let's see. All the actors playing vampires were required to hang upside down for about 30 minutes at a time during makeup. This would force all the blood in their bodies to rush to their heads, causing the blood vessels to their face to bulge. The makeup artist would then trace over the swollen lines, creating the eerie, translucent skin look, which I didn't really even notice until I flicked back through it. I was like, oh yeah, I guess you kind of do see their veins in their faces and stuff.
It's kind of crazy that you didn't notice it because it's kind of out there.
Pretty dark movie though. Maybe I just didn't. I mean, I definitely picked up on all their very like their big manes of hair and especially Brad Pitt and the crazy eyes. So.
Well, I mean, I know how you feel about Brad Pitt, so.
That was weird. Moving on. Okay. Anne Rice was so pleased with this adaptation that she took out a 2-page ad in both Vanity and the New York Times, endorsing it as a masterpiece. That is quite
True
the opposite
facts.
of what Stephen King is known for doing.
True. That is like quite the opposite.
The film was the highest grossing vampire movie for over a decade until Twilight.
Oh, well, I mean, fair. It is one of the better vampire movies.
And finally, Kirsten Dunst wasn't allowed to watch the film when it was released because her parents thought it would be too scary. She was 12 years old at the time. Wow, she looks pretty young
Feels
for 12.
like, I mean,
She could pass for 8 in this movie.
I think the makeup had something to do with that because I mean she was supposed to be pretty young.
Yep. All right. So, opening thoughts on Interview with the Vampire. Is it indeed one of your faves, or do we just have a special kinship over it?
I mean, dude, I love this movie.
Okay.
I mean, I have 6. I think I have every book in the Vampire Chronicles series, or at least I did at one point in time. I don't know if there were more released after the 6 that I had, or still have. I don't keep up with books anymore. So, but I mean, I have, the 6 books here, for this. So yeah, no, I really like the movie. I definitely remember seeing it when I was younger, and was just mesmerized by it. I do love period pieces, and this is a period piece, and it's about vampires, and I love vampires. So yeah, no, this movie is fantastic.
What are the other books like? I had no idea it was a series.
So you remember its sequel, the movie sequel, Queen of the Damned?
Oh, I've heard of that movie. I didn't realize it had any connection.
Yeah, so Queen of the Damned is actually the 3rd book in this series. They actually skipped the 2nd book, which is The Vampire Lestat. And in the movie they took the important parts, like there were some parts you really needed from The Vampire Lestat to make Queen of the Damned, and they kind of shoved them together. And then like it didn't help that they had a different, like it was a different actor playing. It wasn't Tom Cruise, because by the time that movie came out he was like a really really big star, like a really big star. I guess they couldn't afford him. Maybe he didn't want to do it. Shit, I don't know. But the book, for what I recall for the first one, is very, very close to the movie. The movie's very close to it. I'm sure there are some minor detail differences. Like especially, I imagine if the book was written in the 70s, like the end of where they were doing the interview probably wasn't set in the late 80s. It was probably set in the late 70s. But that's minor and like not important. I do remember thinking that Vampire Lestat was a much more boring book. I don't want to say more boring, but it was harder for me to get into than Interview. And then Queen of the Damned was great. But Lestat is an anti-hero. Like he does these dastardly things, but at the end of the day, like in some of these books, he saves the world or saves whatever he's trying to do. There are crazy things that happen where like he ends up, because he ends up being a rock star, and because he's been alive for so long, he's like super rich. But he
Oh, so he's in Rock of Ages?
I mean Tom Cruise is.
Yeah.
But he pays a guy so he switches into this other guy's body to be a human, so you can know what it's like to be human again, to like connect with humanity. And all sorts of shenanigans ensue. It goes like the books, I don't know which ones, but they go in super in depth about like each vampire has a preference on where they like to bite and where they like to get the blood from. And there are some things that are kind of gross to deal with that, to deal with women especially. You can do that math for yourself. So yeah, but no, they were very interesting reads, especially when I was younger, like because I went from Stephen King to Anne Rice and just was like blown away by how she wrote. But like I said, that was 15, 20 years ago. I don't know if I would feel the same way now if I read them, but I still love the movie. For Interview, it is fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, my father loves all things vampire, so he was more than down to watch this with me, which was nice. And I think I've only seen this. This would be my 3rd time. The first time I just I watched it on a whim. Then the second time, you spotted in my dad's collection, and we watched it whenever you visited for bowl season. many years ago. Yeah, and yeah, like I was saying, my father really into vampires. Anything from this to Vampire Diaries to like Dark Shadows. I don't think he was as into that, but actually he was more familiar with the TV show when I was asking him about that randomly the other day. So yeah, vampires, good stuff. Um, yeah, a lot of good looking dudes in this from Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and no, not Benicio,
Antonio.
Antonio Banderas. Yeah, so very hot vampires all around. So makes sense why this made buttsloads of cash. Okay, so starts off with Pitt's vampire. He's Louis, right?
Yes, yes. Brad Pitt is Louis, and Tom Cruise is Lestat.
And so it begins with Louis basically stalking this reporter who seems to, I guess they're stalking each other, sort of. And yeah, they end up in this apartment in San Francisco, and Louis begins telling him the story of his life becoming a vampire. And yeah, I'm really interested. So there's some good additional context from the book, I suppose you might be bringing to the table here.
Again, forever since I've read that, but more of just again, I also really like vampire stuff to do with vampires, and so the thing to me there where you're like, oh, they were stalking each other, it's more like Christian Slater's character Moray, I think was his name, or something like that. Which they don't ever say it. It was just in the subtitles. He was probably more drawn to Louis, and I think he even said that he didn't know why, and so he was following him, and like he's like, oh, you look really interesting, and that is the thing that it's not the glamour, like glamoring someone to gain control of them, but more of there's that mysticism. So like vampires are known as these crazy hunters, but to go back where you already referenced Twilight, and I hate to reference Twilight for vampire lore, but there is one of the scenes in Twilight where Edward is talking to Bella, and he tells her that he's like the most fierce hunter or the greatest hunter or something of that nature, but he doesn't even have to do anything. He can just make the person come to him by that, like an aura that they have around them kind of thing. And so I think that's what happened, where Christian Slater was drawn to him, and then he started following him, but the whole time really Louis was actually the one doing the tracking kind of thing. So
Makes sense. And I guess that gives the reporter some connection to Lestat because he's drawn to Louis as well, right?
Oh, who Lestat is drawn to Louis? Well, I mean, Lestat made Louis, but yeah, he was drawn to him. If you go back, it was more of, I guess, Louis himself. At that point, he wanted to die. You learned that his wife and child had died. He was like 24. They had been dead for like less than 6 months or so, and he was basically just trying to gamble away all of his money, and just basically being depressed and drinking, fucking, whatever, whoever, didn't care. And Lestat saves him, bites him, but then leaves him, and then like comes back and basically, hey, do you want to make the pain go away, and all of this, basically sells him on becoming a creature of the night kind of thing.
I thought all the blood drinking scenes throughout this was all pretty cool looking, pretty kind of sexual in a way. So yeah, definitely kind of a saucy movie. I mean, vampires are innately pretty seductive. What'd you think of Vampires on Wires?
I mean, who doesn't love some vampire waxia? I mean, I thought it was cool. I mean, I would prefer them to be on wires. I think it looks more natural. Like if this movie was made now, like you wouldn't have everything would have been CGI'd, and I think it would fucking suck. Not that movies with a bunch of CGI can't be good, but like there was, just so many practical effects and special effects and makeup and stuff in this movie that would just all be CGI'd now. And I just don't think it would look as good. Like it wouldn't, or it wouldn't look as good. This movie was 1994, and we're in 2023, so we're talking 30 years old, and that movie still looks really, really good. Whereas if we were to make this movie now in 2023, or we'll say 2024, and came back to it in 2054, it would probably look like garbage, you know, comparatively. Um, and yeah, vampires are innately seductive and sexual by nature. And they did do, I think, a good job with how the biting was going.
I like
And
how
then
he has
even
that little like thimble thing that's like a claw where he pricks himself in order to like help make new vampires. So yeah, the way
yeah,
blood
or
was used throughout was pretty cool.
yeah, and he can use it to like make a puncture and start drinking somewhere without having to bite. Actually, oddly enough, are you familiar with the TV show Angel, the spinoff of Buffy?
Okay.
Okay, so it's a spinoff of Buffy. Angel was like the main vampire character. He's a vampire. In that universe, vampires are a lot different. He, when vampires are normally closer to like Lestat, or the vampires say in the Coven in France, except for they are just straight up demonic evil. They have no remorse. They kill for fun. Angel is cursed with a soul, so he remembers all the people that he killed. But in flashbacks, you see from where he became a vampire in Ireland and other thing, and it's in that same time period. It's the late 1700s. He also has that thimble on his thumb, or a very similar style thimble, and he actually uses it to like carve the Christian cross as for ironic purposes, because you know he's a literal demon in that lore. But definitely, given the time period, and you know, although Lestat came from Paris, so he came from Europe. Ireland's in, you know, Europe. Obviously, they're not the same country, but definitely feels like it is a nod to Interview with the Vampire. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah, mentioning all those different sources of vampire lore, it's always neat to in these movies where they're like, oh no, that's bullshit. Oh, but we gotta have that, and you know this is legit and so forth. But yeah. So in this, they say what stake through the heart's no good, but yeah, definitely they get hurt by light, and yeah, definitely need the coffins.
you got to have the coffins. Get hurt by light. Get hurt by fire. And I guess beheading.
Oh, and
Because
can't drink the blood of the dead.
yeah, can't drink the blood of the dead. I don't know if that's necessarily fatal, but I definitely think it makes them weak, because he was like, "Hey, put me in my coffin," but then he was drugged. That was definitely a scene.
Yeah, sometimes you forget how great an actor Cruz is until you see him kind of disappear in one of these smaller roles where yeah, he just totally owns it, and like yeah, him and Pitt's a little flat in this, but still like stoic and he works. But yeah, I think Cruz kind of steals the show here.
What do you mean in a small role? He's like the second main actor of the movie.
I didn't say. Did I say small role? I said.
Yeah, in this kind of smaller role. And I guess maybe you mean it's not a huge. I guess it's not a blockbuster like Top Gun, but.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that I meant yeah, it's a smaller movie compared to like yeah, Top Gun. Exactly. Yep. Clever to have the story. About them. So like, once Louis turns into a vampire, like he does not want to be like killing people. He's all about sucking that rat blood or some doggy blood, because yeah, he has kind of a conscience still. But that is no problem for Dunst, as we'll find out shortly. So, what do you want? Anything to say about Louis and him struggling to adapt to being a bloodsucker?
So I think at this point in time, that was definitely like a newer take on vampires, because it was just, he clearly had the lust for the blood. He wanted the blood, and human blood is the one that you know is what tastes the best. I guess it's like the caviar or whatever. You know, they don't want to live off of pig's blood or what have you. But it was, I think that was a newer concept. Maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I know, that was a newer concept in the early 90s, where the vampire didn't just go crazy wanting to drink the blood, like where he without remorse kind of thing, and so he has the remorse and doesn't want to do it. Where most, yeah, most every time you see a vampire, they're like, "Yo, give me that blood, give me the blood."
Definitely enjoy all the seduction moments where they're sucking the fair maidens dry. Pretty nice looking ladies there. I cracked up big
Um,
time whenever Tom uh, or Lestat's character or Lestat drains the rat over the cup, and you hear like a boink noise. It's some funny sound effects in
um,
here.
so the head slave, the head house slave, Yvette, the one that Louis drains before he
Hmm.
burns the house down and everything, that was actually Thandie Newton. Um, just a little tidbit in there. I didn't realize that until this time when I watched it. And then the maiden that they kill in the bar, where like Lestat bites her neck and then Louis bites her neck and he's drinking from her wrist that he pricked with the thimble.
Hmm.
I don't remember the actress's name, but she was on Sons of Anarchy. She played Chibs's wife. She had the white streak in her hair in that movie and was very Irish. Um, but just little tidbits of things that I thought was yeah.
So Louis, so Lestat thinks he can get him to like kill rich assholes because I guess that's one of his bread and butter. But instead, he goes after the dogs.
I mean, yes, Lestat definitely liked, he enjoyed killing the aristocracy, thought they tasted better kind of thing, because he is kind of snobbish. Definitely
Hmm.
feels like he used to be aristocracy, and I can't remember from the book if he was or not, to be honest. But I took it more of like he was probably going to be able to kill that lady if the dogs hadn't been there, because the dogs wouldn't shut the fuck up. It felt like they bothered, like were
Yeah,
annoying him, and so
they're really sensitive to sound. I guess Lestat's always complaining about sound.
yeah, and so he was just like, "Grr." But yeah, he didn't like kill them real quick, then kill her. He just drank them, and then Lestat just comes up, and it's only the one time where you really see them like show like crazy strength was where he just like turns her head around and like snaps her neck.
Oh
Um,
right, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, because like in a lot of other mythos or vampire lore, they are like Superman. They have this crazy like all of them can fly, all of them have crazy strength, or they can jump really high, kind of thing. This was the only one where you saw like Lestat, like one of them have really strong strength, because even like later in the Coven, um, Antonio Banderas or Armand has to use he uses like a crowbar to like break this wall down, instead of just like pushing through it with his hands or punching through it, kind of thing. So
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the boob bite, because yeah, but he still can't bring himself to kill her. Finally, so does Louis bite one of his servants?
yeah, he kills a vet. That's Thandie Newton. He
Oh, okay.
she's trying to check on him and make sure he's okay, and like she grabs his hand, and then it's right there. I'm sure he can see the vein in her wrist and all of that, and so he just drains her from there essentially.
Okay.
Um,
For some reason, I
maybe
was thinking whenever he bit Durst was like his final breaking moment because he's like showing mercy for her because she's like dying of the plague.
well, yes, that was. I mean, that was a little bit later where yeah he this was after the the scene where he kills Sandy Newton was a little bit earlier, but then he's after that they're like living in New Orleans and they're in like a room and they've got the two I assume ladies of the night, and Tom's like, or Lestat is trying to get him to drink blood. He's like, "You're not even gonna kill her. I'll kill her," and he still couldn't do it. And then that's when he goes outside and he's walking and he walks into where the plague, the plague is, and he
Hmm.
finds Kirsten Dunst's character, and her mom's dead and she's begging for him to get Mama to wake up, and he bites her and then thinks he kills her, and then Lestat turns her a little bit later after Lestat finds him in the sewer.
I did notice how I did skip over the part where they lose the plantation house. So yeah, so Pitt or Louis like totally tired of like being like the master of all these slaves, but they think he's a monster and they're doing all like these chants and stuff to get rid of him. So yeah, he basically sets them all free, and they burn down the plantation, slash him setting it on fire himself. So pretty cool fiery scene there as he's trying to get rid of his human existence, I suppose. Hilarious when Cruz does that dance with the Dunst's dead mother in the playhouse.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely could see how and where like Lestat is unhinged, for sure.
I thought the movie did it like because each time somebody gets turned, like you can see them like screaming and like as if something's like getting re-engineered inside of them. So I thought that was pretty visceral. To
Yeah,
hear
it's
all
the
their
mortal
screams.
death. Yeah, their mortal organs and stuff are dying. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now Dunst is a young vampire. She's very careless and likes to feed on whoever she wants to feed on, and so it's a little comedy
Well,
there.
because she is a child and she has the desires of a child. They want what they want when they want it. They don't understand restraint, which is why in most vampire lore, making a child into a vampire is forbidden. Which that comes to be a thing in this movie as well. So.
Super curls. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So, yeah, she gets quite irritated eventually whenever she notices like young maidens and how they feast on their, gorgeous bodies, and is like, why don't I have that? And then she gets all pissed off the fact that they changed her before she matured.
Yeah, it's like at this point, I think they've been in New Orleans for like 30 years, and at this point, the Louisiana Purchase has happened, so they're Americans, and the city is growing, and but yeah, you see this very beautiful woman like changing, and she's naked, and she wants the breast, and to like you said, mature and everything, and then she ends up killing her, and then how she wants to leave, and Louis like, well, Lestat will never let us leave, and then when she sets out for her dastardly plan, where she poisons these two young boys with laudanum, and laudanum keeps the bodies warm, and has him drink the dead blood, and then she slits his throat, and he's like bleeding everywhere, and you can see him deteriorating, which I thought was really cool.
Yes, for sure.
And then they took and dumped him in the swamp. And instead of, cutting his head off or incinerating him or something, or leaving him somewhere to be in the sun.
For some reason, I was thinking it was going to take maybe a half hour for him to show back up, but no, it's like almost the next scene where he's just like, I'm back. And then they burn the fucker down, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, they do. It had been at this point a few weeks where they had been trying to prepare to leave to go to Europe, but yeah, he feeds on an alligator, and then toads and snakes, and
feeding on the vial of the Mississippi, I think he says.
Yeah. But yeah, then they show up, and he ends up, Louis sets him on fires. The second time he sets something on fire in this movie. So
it's not going to be the last.
No, it is not.
That's a fun point, and yeah, I didn't piece that together. And this disfigurement definitely hurts Lestat because he's known as a suave vampire. He's
vain.
He charms his victims and then feasts on them, but with him looking like a toad, I guess he doesn't get out as much.
Yeah, well, he just needs to regain his strength. He needs to feed on a lot of blood again, which you see happen at the end of the movie. But so,
all right, yep. So yeah, so setting Lestat on fire burns the whole damn town down. But they're sailing off to Europe, and then we get a kind of a weak montage because we're just seeing they went to Egypt and they went to Russia and Transylvania, and it's just these pictures. And then we're in Paris, which kind of doesn't look that much different from where we were, but maybe a little older.
It's a little older, but they were in New Orleans, which was a French city, and then they go to Paris, which is the French city. So it makes sense that you would have a lot of similar architecture and that kind of stuff.
Okay. I did like the vamp catacomb lair that they that long staircase as they check out the vampire community. When he finally meets like this kind of like magician looking guy who's like floating on walls, and then before Banderas comes out, it's like, you have met the vampires.
Yeah, because that dude could fly and read. So his dark gift, he could fly and read minds and like walk. Where it felt like Louis didn't really have that much of a dark gift. Like he was fast, but he couldn't fly really. He couldn't read minds, or at least never was shown. But he definitely had that viciousness in him when he finally did have a choice. But yeah, they go into the Theater de Vampire, and it's like,
Oh, right.
oh my God, it's vampires playing humans who are playing vampires. And Kirsten Dunst, whose name I cannot remember for whatever reason, was like, "Oh, how I'm not the god."
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
they
that's
just-
true.
And they just straight up kill that girl on stage. Like they rip all her clothes off, and then like the whole coven like feeds on her on stage as part of the show.
Yeah. So basically, Louis is trying to figure out like the meaning of like this whole like vampirism thing, and Antonio Banderas is basically like it's meaningless, but basically like, okay, he didn't say that exactly, but like he's like, oh, I don't know anything about God or the devil, so like he kind of hints that humanity is meaningless, and that but
And he
the
claims to
vamps
be
should
the
not
oldest
kill
living
each other.
vampire. Well, yes, he doesn't say that vamps shouldn't kill each other. It's back to the magician boy. He reads like Brad, Louis, and Kirsten are leaving, and he lets his guard down, and the dude reads his mind, and he's like, "Who's Lestat?" And he's like, "We don't have any rules other than one: you don't kill vampires. Don't kill vampires." And that kind of leads to the next big thing.
Yeah, the downfall kind of. As Louis gets to know Antonio Banderas' vampire a little better, he says, okay, you were asking the wrong question. So basically the theme of this movie is how vampires, in order to survive, need to adapt to the changing world. I guess that was kind of the big thematic statement that we're left with. So Dunst orders Pitt to help her make a mother for her, right? So changing another human because she doesn't know how to do it. But since they've been pinned down for murdering a vampire. So as soon as the lady gets changed, they get taken and essentially bricked up into like this well kind of thing, like a silo, until the sun shines fully over there and lights them up and incinerates them, vampire style.
Definitely feels like Underworld 3, which is Underworld Rise of the Lycans, which I guess they actually show parts of it in 1 and 2, but I think they go into depth in it in 3, of how they kill not Celine, but the girl who looks like Celine that Victor ends up. That's why Victor turned Celine, is because it reminds him of his daughter. But it was also like, it wasn't necessarily in a silo, but it was in a room where they opened up the sun and incinerated her. And I definitely was like, oh man, it feels like they definitely also took from this movie as well.
Okay, which one was that?
They showed clips of it in like flashbacks in Underworld 1 and 2, but
Okay.
3 is where they go back in time. So that's the one without Celine. Celine's not in it. So it's not Kate Beckinsale. It's Rona Mitra, who looks like Kate Beckinsale pretty well, actually. So yeah. But yeah, just more movies taking from this one, being inspired by it, kind of thing.
So instead of being burned alive, Louis was basically buried alive in some kind of crypt. And so Antonio Banderas frees him because, they're buds, and which allows Louis to burn the mother down. So, he pours fuel all over the place and, burns all the vampires. And then says, all right, it was nice knowing you, Antonio Banderas. I know you want to rule the world with me, but I'm out of here.
Yeah, and he just went all over Europe till he finally ended up back in America.
Mm-hmm.
And then in like the early 80s, I think it was, or so, he comes back to New Orleans. And he talks about how he got to see the sunrise and all the different colors again through motion pictures and that kind of stuff. And then he picks up the smell of old death, something so faint a human wouldn't notice it.
When he finds Lestat again.
Yeah, he finds Lestat just holed up in this house. A bunch of dead rats around him, and he's still in like the same clothes, and he's weak, even though you see him like move this chair with magic, essentially, the Force, basically. When Louis gets too close, but Louis like, hey, I gotta go. And he says that he hadn't kept up with Lestat since then, so it had been a couple of years by that point when we're at the point of the interview, and then he finishes his story, and Christian Slater's character is like, that can't be the end. Then he's like, you brought me here for a reason. You must want to turn me to be a companion, help you adapt. I'm modern, yada yada. And Louis like, no, I failed again. And he's like, he eventually does show him his strength with how fast he moves and holds him up, and then he
scares him off.
Yeah, he leaves, and the guy goes to leave, and he gets in this cool Ford Mustang convertible.
Starts listening to the recording of Louis' whole personal story. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then out of nowhere, Lestat shows up, and he goes, "I guess I need no introduction." And he bites him, and you can see him all of a sudden, all the color and everything comes back into his face. And he starts learning how to drive he just starts driving the car, which,
switching the radio.
Yeah, he switches. Whining. Been listening to this for centuries, and he turns it off, and it's Guns N' Roses, which was made by, the movie was done at Geffen Studios, and they were on Geffen Records, so that makes sense. That Guns N' Roses.
I thought it was Sympathy for the Devil, isn't that Rolling Stones?
Yeah, it was Guns N' Roses cover.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a Guns N' Roses cover. From Use Your Illusion or the Spaghetti Incident, something like that time period. Yeah, I'm pretty. You know what? Let me double check before I'm speaking out of my ass, but I am pretty sure that
So I guess one of the big takeaways from seeing Lestat again is how he hasn't adapted to this like modernizing world. He's still cooped up in this room and kind of very toadish in his appearance. And he gets freaked out whenever there's a helicopter. He's just like, no, chill out. It's false light. You need to get with the times. For some reason, I had remembered Brad Pitt being the one that went and got the reporter at the end, jumped in the car. But yeah, I was a little surprised to see it was Lestat, which kind of makes more sense. But yeah.
Well, and that's kind of actually the thing is, in the books, all of the books, Lestat is the main character. So Lestat is the main character in this book. It is a story about Lestat being told through the eyes of Louis. Is essentially what you take away here. But it's, he's the main character even though he's not, because obviously this is being told through Louis' eyes. So, most people are going to perceive Louis as the main character. So, but
overall, really solid movie. I like how the story spans over a large piece of time, although I wish there was more set pieces. It seems a little limited. But it does tell an effective story that it flies on by. So, I mean, there's something to be said for, something that breezes on by. But, yeah, just some other, setting, I think, would have helped, break it up a little better. Because I guess it seemed a little monotonous visually. But great characters, really awesome vampire sucking and drama. And, yeah, cool movie. I'd give it probably about 4.
I maintain it at a 5. I absolutely still loved it. I thought for a movie where nothing happened but stuff did happen, it moved at a very brisk pace. It didn't feel like 2 hours. I thought the special effects and stuff and makeup were great. And it just had really good acting overall. So yeah, no, I absolutely still love it.
Right on. All right, our second movie, Die Hard, is from 1988. An American action thriller directed by John McTiernan. based on the 1979 novel Nothing Lasts Forever. It stars Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, and Reginald VelJohnson. Die Hard follows a New York police office detective, John McClane, played by Willis, who is caught up in a terrorist takeover of a Los Angeles skyscraper while visiting his estranged wife.
On Christmas Eve. Don't
As if
forget
you
the
guys
most
didn't know
important.
that.
Yes.
So the fictional Nakatomi Plaza was the headquarters of 20th Century Studios, so that was quite convenient for them. In 2007, Bruce Willis donated John McClane's undershirt to the Smithsonian. The scene where McClane falls down a shaft was a mistake by the stuntman, who was supposed to grab the first vent, as it was originally planned. And Alan Rickman nearly passed on this role, which ended up being his first film role.
Yeah, just think, if he had passed on it, maybe he's never Snape. Or maybe he's never the Sheriff of Nottingham, or the Metatron, or the many, many, many other roles. But
What's the Metatron from?
Metatron is from Dogma, where he was the voice of God.
Oh, right. I know that.
Yeah.
I should know that. Okay, so what was your first Die Hard movie?
This one.
Okay.
Die Hard 1. Yeah.
3 for me, and then my cousin was like raving about this one being the best, and went back and watched it, and yes, it is equally as awesome. Unfortunately, I dozed a little bit in the second hour when I saw this most recently, but that's not the first time that's ever happened, and it probably won't be the last. I've seen this countless times and flipped back through
That
it. Just
and you also, have to put up with a bunch of children while you're watching movies, and you also watch movies crazy late at night. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
Oh, but yeah, this used to be one of my go-tos for like when I had a new friend staying the night. We would always pop on good Die Hard, and so I've seen this thing countless times. Bruce Willis was like my action hero. I like to pretend to be like when I was growing up, and I was in my own little Die Difficult movies. So yeah, it's my jam for sure. Fist with your toes.
Yes, and he just had a gun on the airplane, just strapped to him the whole time.
Yeah.
Things so much. The 80s was the freaking Wild West, essentially.
What a contrast between this movie and the second movie, where we start out in an LA airport where it's beautiful sunset or whatever, and then in Die Hard 2 we're in DC and it's freaking blizzard. So Die Hard 2 probably gets shit on more than it deserves. It's definitely not as good as this, but it has its moments.
That was the one I probably, of the 3 original ones, I've only seen that one once or twice, and I don't remember much about it other than like the end of it. Mm-hmm. I definitely don't think it's as good as 1 and 3. And then 4, I remember enjoying 4, but I haven't seen it. Like, I had completely forgotten that like it was PG-13 and everything until Carl said something about yippee-ki-yay dude and all that. But Timothy Olyphant is the bad guy in that movie, so we're gonna say it's pretty good. And then we're not gonna talk about Live Free or Die Hard because
no, we're not.
Yeah.
Argyle, the limo driver, great little side character. They're hanging out in the basement of Nakatomi. He's talking on the phone and jamming to tunes as action pursues around him until he finally gets glued in later on. Our first sign that this is a Christmas movie, where John McClane's just like, we listen to some Christmas music, and then he puts on a little Christmas rap for the season. So now we're pulling up to Nakatomi.
Oh yeah, Nakatomi Plaza, and it's like so technologically advanced for its time, where you can go in and like use the computer to find people and all of that. And that is how he finds out that Holly which is his wife, is using her maiden name Gennaro instead of his name McClane. So
I don't think I ever picked up on this a lot at first, but the fact that like the desk man's like, all right, yeah, if you're looking for somebody, type it in there. And then he's like, oh yeah, Holly Gennaro's like, oh yeah, they're up on that floor. They're the only ones here. It's like, you asshole, why didn't you just send them up there to begin with? Because we needed to find out about her name.
Yes, but then I guess also maybe he was looking for someone who wasn't part of that party. But he should, be like, well, if they're here, they're at the party, and if not. But yeah, they didn't ask for the guy's name, ID, why he was there for the party. Like, just go right on up. No bigs.
The movie that started it all, terrorists on a plane, train, you name it. Die Hard is all over the place. Gosh, they're so like the terrorists. I mean, the score throughout this is like perfectly like gives the sounds of like the mood of like what's going on with what the terrorists are going through, or like a moment of uncertainty or whatever. So great score. Always marvel at how efficient they are at like plugging themselves into the building. He got the one guy like working on wires, and then I think his brother like saws all the wires in half. So it's like, oh, so much for that.
Yeah, because one of the brothers, he's clearly like cutting the wires and trying to splice them so they can have control over them, and the other guy, like, and because you can see while he's cutting through them, he is furiously working to try to finish, and it's like, bro, what? So yeah, but yeah,
Basically.
this is like they come in, they're super technologically advanced. They have Trevette before he was Trevette from Walker. He's like the main computer hacker man,
Okay.
trying to get into the vault. The one who said the famous line in the quarterback is toast.
Yes. Good one.
Yes.
Can't be remiss if I didn't mention our tit sequence here, where the lady is running down the hallway screaming as the terrorists start gunning up the lobby, or firing off shots in the air.
They broke in as John and Holly were trying to talk. They were clearly trying to get their fuck on. Oh, let's not forget about Cocaine Boy, whose name I cannot remember right now.
Oh, you're talking about Ellis, right?
Ellis, yeah. John McClane missed a little. Oh,
John
man,
Boy.
oh
Bubby.
yeah, John Boy, Bubby.
I'm your white knight.
White Knight. Use a gun, I use a pen. What's the difference? Or a ballpoint pen? It's like, bro, that dude found out real quick he was not on the level of Hans Gruber.
Yep, and same with the manager guy there. He's just like, I don't know what to do. You guys have to kill me, and bam. Great
Takagi,
transition.
yeah.
Takagi. Perfectly executed like action throughout this thing. I mean, the gunshots are nice and loud, and like you kind of feel them, and a lot of good blood, and yeah, the action in this is top notch.
For sure.
Must have been a hell of a vault if they needed the whole movie to drill into it. And then what's the FBI
when they
that
showed
accidentally opens it for him, right?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you got to think how we're talking 1980s money, and they're talking about $640 million in 1989. That is a lot of money.
I still have no idea what a negotiable Barabon is, but I guess it's worth something. Oh, the girly feet guy gets with the really ugly sweatsuit. Gets his neck broke, which ho. Now John McClane has a shotgun or a machine gun. As we go to the iconic elevator maneuvering sequence, which I'm sure many people have probably tried to test for themselves.
So that $640 million is $1.7 billion today.
Holy cow.
So, yeah. So that plus whatever else they had in there, and it's just in an office building, huge safe, huge ass fucking safe, like.
And he finally gets. How does he call out? Oh no, he gets the guy's radio, and so he starts doing a distress call, and somehow he gets the 911 dispatchers, right? And they're like, "Oh, this is a private line. You can't use this." Like, what the fuck, lady? You think I'm ordering a pizza here? We got terrorists, and yeah, a lot of dumb authorities in this.
Yeah, because it's like they had already had a fire alarm. It was a fake. Oh, it's from the same place. It's like. And now you clearly the way the guy is talking, he's the vernacular and shit that he's using, like clearly he knows what's up. Why are you not? And then so you're like, we'll investigate it, and you send one cop car, you send one officer who's a desk. You find out later is a desk jockey. Mm-hmm. So I mean, of course, Carl Winslow is a desk jockey, like of course. But yeah, that whole sequence is just dumb authority figures like the whole way. The whole movie cops and dumb FBI agents. So
Pretty much. I thought it was real neat how the building kind of feels like a maze that John has to like maneuver in order to get around these terrorists here or there. There's this and a lot of common shots of like different like air ducts he's going through and the stairs and stuff, and so it all becomes very familiar, even though it is kind of like, where is he going? How does he know to get there? But definitely have some confidence in what he's doing. Now I know what a TV dinner feels like.
right, bro, that was a tight squeeze there.
Some big tense moments like after that as they're like looking for him in the air ducts, and they're like poking up to see if they can find him and stuff. So some definitely some nail biting stuff there. You already mentioned Mr. Winslow as the Family Matters cop that wants some Twinkies before he goes to Nakatomi. His wife's pregnant, by the way. Then we get the asshole reporter character who wants to sensationalize this biatch.
Well, yeah, he wants his big break, and then yeah, once he gets there and sees the man where they like just destroy the cops, and he's like, "Oh my God, did you get that?" And it's like, "Yeah, I got that." And yeah,
Yep. Always partial to Roy Rogers. Yippee-ki-yay. Yeah, I think those radio discussions between like McClane and the cop outside is probably what makes the movie what it is, just because it gives it so much more heart as you get into these characters in such an unconventional way that they somehow pulled off, because it's hard to like get conversations like with just one person or between two people in different places right, and this movie nails it.
yeah, because I mean, you definitely it humanizes him, which I mean, I think they did a good job of humanizing John McClane at the beginning, where he's clearly struggling with what's happening with his wife and his family, and he's trying to fight and get it back. But then, you start seeing him turn into this killing machine, this guy fighting, and it's still he's trying to survive and keep everybody alive and do everything the right way, the best that he knows how, kind of thing. So yeah.
I love that little twinkle in the music when the Asian terrorist is like hanging out at the little store thing, and then he grabs a candy bar. I always can't help but get a little chuckle out of that. Yeah, and then the terrorists totally kick the cops' asses as they try to rush the building, and they even have like this armored vehicle, and they start blasting with an RPG. It's pretty nasty stuff, and John McClane is not liking that too much at all, so he straps some C4 to a computer and blows the fuck out of the downstairs of that building.
Yeah, and that's the cops are running the play. They've got the playbook, and they're running it step by step. They send the cops in 2-by-2 formation, and then the RV,
Yep.
and just the terrorists know everything they're going to do. They're one step ahead of them. And it's funny because Hans is first, he's like, just wound the cops. But then when they come up with the RV, it's like it pisses him off. And so he, has them light them up.
Fire again. Oh,
And then he takes the C4 and straps it, and then dumb watches it shoot up the elevator shaft. And
yeah. Oh, so this gets to the part where the Ellis guy, he tries to like step up and be a hero, and so he basically clues Hans in on who John is, and they call him, and they're like trying to lure him out, but he's like, this is crazy. I'm not coming out because of this, and which gets the Ellis guy essentially executed over the airways, which puts a kind of a downer moment for John, because obviously he's there to help people, and unfortunately he couldn't do anything
and
to help
he tries
this
to
jerk
help
off.
Ellis. And like Ellis, at least Ellis wasn't like, oh, this is Holly's husband. He was like, oh, he was my guest at the party. We've known him for years. Like, obviously, he's lying, trying to better his position. And then, of course, it gets him killed. So.
And then that goes right into the crazy ransom demands as they use for distraction as the FBI shows up. Special Agent Johnson and Special Agent Johnson have no relation.
Big in the credits, they're listed as Big Johnson and Little Johnson.
Nice. Oh, we get the moment where I guess Hans is trying to get the jump on him and find his detonators, and so he goes up there and tries to take care of it himself. Runs right into John. John kind of catches on to what's going on, even though I think Hans gets the last laugh because his he kind of gets him in a corner because
Because everybody else shows up.
right, and then they start
Yeah.
firing a lot of shots, a lot of shots. Shoot the glass, shoot the glass. John does not have any shoes, which kind of leads us to kind of a third act slump kind of moment because him picking all that glass out of his feet and talking about like how he loves Holly, and then Regional talks about like his incident with getting put on the desk because he accidentally killed a kid. So a lot of sad stuff going on there, but it all works in like this friendship conversation. It never feels like we're intentionally like slowing down the movie in order to get some sympathy going. It's all very well put together.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that it's like I know you say it's like kind of a slump, but I definitely wouldn't even say it's a slump. I just think it's a thing that a lot of movies don't do now. It gives you a lot of big action, and then it gives you a break. It gives you a time to like catch your breath and gives you something else to focus on. Where like now that would just be balls to the wall like the whole time. So
the asshole reporter goes to Holly's house and tries to actually does interview the children. So that pisses her off royally, especially since her and her husband are in harm's way in this whole conflict.
And that is when Hans finds out that she's married to John.
Right.
This is after also the FBI has shut down the power to like 10 city blocks. Oh, how about the United States fucking government? Cut it off or you'll lose your job. It's like, man, what an abuse of power. And then both sides are trying to backstab each other. We're going to get them choppers, but they're going to be gunships. And then they're like, yeah, when they land with the choppers, blow them up, kill kill everybody kind of thing. So,
Yep, because they rig all the C4 up to the roof.
Yeah, to the helipad.
And this is right as John finds out this plan, he runs right into that the big guy with the blonde hair who cut up those pipes earlier, and he's really pissed that his brother got killed, and so they have an epic knockout drag down.
Oh yeah, where John just says some out of pocket shit where he's like, should have heard how your brother screamed when I broke his fucking neck. Yeah, he's just completely out of pocket. But good shit talking is good shit talking. So.
John escaping from the top with the fire hose, definitely my favorite sequences in the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, so very not even remotely realistic, but so cool as fuck.
Yeah.
And then the Rolex.
Yep, the lobby looks like total shit. The sprinklers are going off, sparks. Definitely not the nice water fountain lobby. Water fountain from the beginning of the movie. Go ahead.
Yeah. We haven't got there. Where I was getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. So yeah, then you jump down, you see Argyle, and you see them driving the ambulance out, and that's going to be their escape route. And he blocks that from happening, knocks out Trevette. So
doing his part. John gets the jump on Hans because he has some gift wrap on his back, hiding his gun, because he makes it look like he's just holding up his hands. And so that goes to the iconic hanging from the building scene finale, where I used to bitch about the green screen, but looking back at it, it's not that bad. It's not bad looking at all. It's a really good final moment as Hans gets dropped off the Nakatomi Plaza building.
And also it's where he's sitting there and Hans is like, "What was it you said to me earlier? Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker." And then John just pulls the gun, and but then they drop, and then the stupid cop, the head of the LA Police Department is like, "I hope that's not a hostage." It's like, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. They go outside. The blonde guy shows back up for the crazy monster guy's last stand, but Reginald Johnson shows him what's what and guns him down.
Pulls his gun for the first time in years, and then the asshole reporter gets punched by Holly Gennaro. Did you get that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then they drive off happy in the limo
with Let It Snow as the closing credit music. Yeah, one of the best action movies ever, and it's great that we have an excuse to watch it around the best time of year. So Die Hard, can't go wrong with it. Even though I'm a little sleepy this time.
I mean, it happens. It's understandable. But yeah, Die Hard, good shit. Good shit, for sure.
All right. So you curious what we'll be watching next? 5 stars, by the way.
Oh yeah, 5. Yeah, we're gonna 5 stars for show. For show. I mean, I have ideas because it's movies that are like my favorite and have some sort of connection to both you and I. So I have an idea. I have a couple ideas like what it could be, but I'm not sure. So hit me.
And the pool is getting smaller, but next time we will go the Scorsese route and watch The Goodfellas.
What do you mean funny? Funny like a clown? Funny like a clown?
All my life, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Oh yeah, man. Out here, all I can get is some egg noodles with ketchup.
That's right. That's towards the end.
Yeah, that's like one of the last lines of the movie. Actually, I have decided that I want in on this watching some of my favorite movies, but I also wanted to do a little twist. I know we just did Amadeus not that long ago, but I definitely wanted to do some more musical movies. So I went ahead. We watched the movie that inspired this movie, and we watched another musical movie by this director. And then we mentioned this movie earlier, randomly in the podcast, oddly enough. Let's go out to La La Land.
Oh, we're actually going to watch La La Land.
Yeah.
At first, I thought we were going to see something else in that Umbrella box set, but okay, La La Land. It's been a little while.
Straight up. There's another movie that I absolutely love. It is one of my favorites. It's usually when my favorites are my favorites and not just
2 Best Picture nominees.
Oh yes, one of them won. Oh wait, no, it didn't. Aw, it win Golden Globe and like Emma Stone won like everything for it. So yeah,
cool. That'll be fun. We'll be watching La La Land and Goodfellas coming up next. And if you'd like us to answer a question before we get to talking about those movies in our what's going on segment, send us an email at the Average Joe's Movie Club cast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, Justin, why do we like doing this show?
Because we love watching Die Hard on Christmas. Because it's a Christmas movie. And we love movies.
It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off of Nakatomi Plaza. Just saying.
Ho, 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 ho. Now I have a machine gun.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Later. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.